Sometimes, as adults, we remember the days when we used to go out and have adventures. More than going out to eat at 3 a.m. in the morning. More than sneaking into our lover's bedroom afterwards against her parents' will. But the cave exploring adventures. Trespassing near the little cottage in the middle of the woods. Little things that horrified us at the time, but when we look back on them, we realize that it was quite possibly our imaginations that were toying with us, rather than the spirits of the dead. Although, there were other times when we think back, our heart rate quickens and we begin to sweat. We think about the times where maybe we weren't in any danger, but something tells us that death was watching from afar, just keeping his watchful eye on us, waiting for the day where he would come to take us away. Today, he came to take me away. After he tore my soul away from my body with his dull scythe, he asked me, "Do you remember me? Do you remember the times I was there watching over you?" And I would say, "I think so, sir." My best friend and I walked down the road. It was around 3 in the morning and I wasn't prepared for this. I never wore shorts, but that night I was for some reason. It was cold out, the middle of winter, so dark that I couldn't see the ground. I could only hear the crunch of the gravel beneath my shoes. In the distance, I could see the graveyard. The light of the moon reflecting off the fog like an eerie scene from a movie. It looked pretty cliché, but it was still a bit spooky. My nose began to run and I sniffled. We said nothing as we got closer to the graveyard. He had awoken me in the dead of night. "Hey, you wanna go for a walk?" "Dude, it's 2 in the morning. Won't your parents be pissed?" "Nah, man, let's just go." He grabbed something off the table and put it in his jacket pocket. Earlier that day, he had found out that the woman he loved had been sleeping with a close friend of his, and he had been silent for the remainder of the evening. This was his first time speaking in hours, and I decided that letting him go out by himself in the dead of night like this would be a bad idea. So I went with him. No coat, just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. We entered the foggy graveyard. He walked quickly and I tried to keep up. Why were we here? Well, honestly, the graveyard was very close to his home. We came here often. It was a nice place during the day. Climbing trees, making fun of people's names, having bicycle races through the graves. My friend walked to a pair of graves. He still hadn't said anything. Suddenly, I felt a chill run up my spine. I hurried to see what he was looking at. He pulled the object from his coat pocket and pointed it at the grave. It was a large cleaver. The light from the moon reflected off the sharp edge of the blade and it shone upon the graves. It was the name of his lover and the man she had been having the affair with. They shared the same last name. My friend went up and stood upon their graves. I didn't like this, but I decided not to say anything, and then we heard a voice. "What are you doing, young man?" said an old woman who had somehow snuck up behind us. We both said nothing. "How would you like it if someone stood upon your graves?" "I wouldn't care," said my friend. The old lady shrugged and walked away, and I sniffled again. "Hey man, can we go home?" I asked desperately. He held the cleaver in his hand, tightly, and turned towards me. His eyes were missing, and blood poured down from his cheeks, from where they once were. He walked towards me, and I started to step away. I said, "Let's get out of here," I said to him, too afraid to run. He came towards me, and then he rushed forward. I put my arms up to try and block him, but I was too late, and I felt my skull being cleaved in half. I woke up. I could tell I was underground, unable to move, unable to breathe. My arms and legs bound at my sides. Then I could hear it. Somebody was yelling. They were in terrible pain. It was then that I realized I was lying in a coffin. Then I heard loud footsteps from above as the screaming got louder and louder. The pounding, the horrible pounding, it was like someone was trying to stomp on my head, and then I woke up. My friend was there. We were back at the graveyard. Instead of a cleaver, he carried a flashlight. It shone upon 2 graves. These ones had the names of random people on them. He turned towards me. "I think I'm ready to go." Then suddenly he threw the flashlight. I didn't see where it landed, and I wasn't about to venture out amongst the graves. We started to leave the graveyard. I turned around one final time. I saw the light of the flashlight. It shone upon the woman from earlier. Half of her face was gone. Nothing but her bone-white skull and an eyeball remained on that side. The other side was completely normal. She waved at me, smiling with her crooked teeth. I didn't wave back. I realized now that it was death, just checking to make sure I was okay. Death is always near, just in case. Death is Near by SQ.